I'm ready. I went downstairs to sign stuff because I thought I'd have a few minutes, and then I got message. They need you in courtroom 1. So, all right, we're back on the case with Don Burkholder. And Ms. Panter, are we ready to go forward, or what's happening?
Yeah, I think that Mr. Burkholder wants to go forward with the hearing.
Okay. So the process would be you go first, Ms. Panter, and then Mr. Burkholder gets to go second.
Yep.
So go ahead and call your first witness, Ms. Panter.
We call Deputy Troy White.
Okay. Deputy White, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask you to raise your right hand if you please. You do solemnly swear you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, fine. Ms. Panter's going to ask you some questions, Deputy White, and then answer them truthfully. If you don't understand the question, ask her to respond differently or, explain what you don't understand. Troy is your first name?
Yes.
And White is common spelling of white.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Panter.
Deputy White, where are you employed?
The Kent County Sheriff's Department.
And how long have you been employed there?
5 years.
Calling your attention to October 8th of 2020, were you out on patrol?
Is it October
August.
8 or August?
August, yes.
I thought you said October, but I'm not sure if I heard it right. My clerk's typing. August 8th. And the question is, was he on patrol?
Yes.
Yes,
Go
it was
ahead.
on August 8th.
What were you assigned to that day?
General Road Patrol.
Did you see anything out while you were on patrol that day?
For some reason, your
yes, would've
audio is going in and out, Ms. Panter. I'm not sure why. Try to address just the microphone area.
I think I just need to speak louder. I pulled my computer closer, so hopefully that
Helps right there. That's a lot better.
Okay. Deputy White, did you hear, what were you assigned to that day?
I was assigned to General Road Patrol.
And did you see anything while you were out on patrol?
Yes, would have been in the vicinity of Lincoln Lake and Old 14 Mile. Observed a vehicle believed to be traveling above the posted speed limit of 55 miles per hour.
Do you recall how quickly they were traveling?
My front radar indicated a speed of 73 miles per hour.
Did you make contact with the driver of that car?
I did, and he was identified as Mr. Burkholder.
Could the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
Well, I get that the person that you stopped was Mr. Burkholder. Is that the person that's on our Zoom with us today?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize him as the same person you talked to from that stop back August 8, a couple of months ago?
I do.
Okay, then the witness has identified the defendant. Go ahead from there, Ms. Panter.
And did you speak to Mr. Burkholder on that stop?
I did.
And what did you guys talk about?
I advised him for the reason for the stop was due to the speed. I advised him I'd stopped him doing 73 miles per hour. He stated that he was test driving a vehicle and wanted to get up to a higher speed to see if there were any shakes or anything mechanically wrong with the vehicle.
And then just one final question. What did you say was the posted speed limit in the area?
It's 55 miles per hour on Lincoln Lake.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, Mr. Burkholder, you have a right to ask the deputy any questions that you might think of in the form of a question. Go ahead.
There we go. Officer White, during the stop, you were presented with paperwork. Do you remember what it was?
Vaguely, I believe it was something to effect of some kind of fine if I had written you a ticket or used your name publicly.
Correct. Your Honor, I presented Officer White a common law copyright, which is on file with the UCC office in Lansing. What was your response when I handed you the copyright?
I initially wasn't sure what it was, and you briefly explained it to me.
Correct. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to get across, Judge.
Well, I don't know what you're
I
talking
had-
about, so when it gets to be your turn, you can explain it more. But if you have any other questions for the deputy, you can put them in the form of a question. But I have
Very
no
well.
idea what this copyright thing is you're talking about.
Very well. I have no further questions for the deputy, Your
Okay,
Honor.
that's fine. Ms. Panter, do you have any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
Deputy White, have you ever, in your years of law enforcement experience, ever heard of any kind of a, I don't know, I guess I'll call it an exception for that if you're an automotive repair shop, test driving a vehicle, or if you're maybe something like where you drive a race car for a living, whether you're able to test drive on regular roadways above the speed limit?
There's no law allowing that I'm aware of.
And your understanding is that area is 55 miles an hour?
Correct.
And you're telling the court that the radar that you used, at least one of the radars, I don't know if you have more than one, I didn't understand that your front radar, did you say it was the front radar?
Correct. Many of the vehicles have a front and rear facing radar. I was using my front.
So is the radar like connected to the front of your car, you mean?
Correct. The main portion of it, I guess you could call it the computer portion of it, sits on the dash, and the antenna is mounted to the
Is
front
it
windshield.
stationary or affixed to the dashboard of your cruiser?
It's fixed to the dash.
And that front radar read 73 on the vehicle that you're claiming was Mr. Burkholder's?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know it was the same vehicle that you stopped?
He was the only vehicle in that immediate area traveling at that speed that I observed to be above 55.
Are you sitting still when you see him, or are you driving when you see him, moving?
I was driving it during this instance.
So it wasn't any kind of stationary radar or anything that you did. You saw him first, and when you saw him without the radar you used, you felt that he was exceeding the speed limit, so then you activate your radar?
Correct.
So it was a visual first and then the radar?
Yes.
And then, is it only you that makes the decision, or is somebody with you when you stopped this car of Mr. Burkholder?
I was alone during this time.
So you make the decision of whether you're going to issue the citation?
Correct.
Well, if he's going 73 miles per hour, how do you make the decision to write the ticket for 1 to 10 over in a 55 zone? What's the point?
I gave him a break on it. I didn't feel it was necessary to write him the full amount.
Well, does the 1 to 10 over, it doesn't represent the 73 miles an hour that you clocked him at, correct?
Correct.
But it is less points when he has to face the Secretary of State?
I believe the fine is less.
So the fine is less, and that's the break you're talking about?
Correct.
Is that something that's discretionary with each and every officer, or is that just something, how does that come up?
That's at discretion of the officer due to it being a civil
see.
infraction.
Okay. And I don't know how you decide, like, if somebody's courteous and kind and cooperative, they might get that lesser ticket, or if somebody's not, you choose to just write it the way it is, or I don't mean to be buggy, but how does that work?
It depends on, I guess, the totality of the circumstances. Were there kids in the immediate area playing by the road? Were there other vehicles close by? Was there almost an accident? In this case, there was
Okay.
no one in the immediate area.
And so you wrote it for the lower speed.
Correct. And I noticed he had a clear record, so he's not a habitual
Okay.
speeder.
Yep. Okay. All right, any other questions that you have, Ms. Panter?
No, Your Honor.
Any other questions that you have, Mr. Burkholder?
No, Judge, not
All right.
for the officer.
I appreciate it. Deputy White, you're free to disengage and disconnect with us. We're through, and we appreciate your courtesy. Thank you for waiting today, being
Thank you, ma'am.
available.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Panter, do you have any other witnesses that you're going to call?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Burkholder, it's your turn. If you have any witnesses that you're going to call, or if you're going to take the stand yourself.
Honestly, Judge, I have no other witnesses, and I guess taking the stand myself, I just trying to initiate the fact that I am a filed sovereign. That
Okay, hold on 1 second. If you want to testify, then I put you under oath, then you start telling me whatever you're saying. Okay,
Very well.
so go ahead. Can you raise your right hand? That's your left hand.
Oh, I guess it is.
You do solemnly swear you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead and explain to me the description of what your cause is. I don't know if that's the right word, but what do you describe it as?
I am a filed sovereign under the laws of the United States Constitution and
Okay,
the
can you
Uniform
tell me the
Commercial Code.
first word? I'm not hearing it before sovereign.
Filed?
F-I-L-E-D?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
My financing statement is filed within the Uniform Commercial Code office in Lansing. Upon that, I have my security agreement, my common law copyright, my hold harmless indemnity, all filed within the Secretary of State. And upon receiving the stop from Officer White, I handed him a copy, common law copyright, which states in part that if he uses my common law or my name in any sort of charging instrument, I can choose to issue a bill for $500,000. And if that goes unfulfilled, I can lien him personally or the bonds or anything that has to do with him.
How does that
And
paperwork get printed? That common law copyright? Is that an attorney that does that for you, or do you do it yourself?
I did it myself, and I had it checked by a constitutional lawyer.
Uh-huh. So help me understand what else you want to say.
That's pretty much it.
How does it deal with the actual ticket? Are you saying that a filed sovereign, who has to be a human being, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That a filed sovereign cannot get a ticket in their name?
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying that with the ticket comes a contract, and I flat out, I don't want a contract with the state of Michigan or with, in this case, the Kent County Sheriff's Department.
So you're saying the ticket itself is a contract?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you think of anything else that you want to say, or that would shed light on anything else regarding this?
No, ma'am. Whatever the court decides to do, I'm honestly going to abide by it, just due to the simple fact that, I don't want any more freedoms taken away from me.
Right.
But I will be issuing bills to the appropriate people.
Okay. Ms. Panter, do you think of any questions that you want to ask Mr. Burkholder?
No, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, did you say no?
No.
Is the 17 Mile Road address where you live, Mr. Burkholder?
Currently, yes.
Do we use that as a mailing address so that you can be notified?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have children?
I do not. Well, I do, but they do not live with me.
Nobody that lives with you, no children that live with you.
Correct.
Do you have a Michigan driver's license?
I do.
How do you square that with your filed sovereignty?
There's a provision within the security agreement that states, due to harassment from, well, to not hurt, to alleviate any type of harassment from authorities, I get one just so that there is something there to basically show that I'm not a threat.
Okay. You didn't give me the impression that your contact with Deputy White was one of agitation or violence by either one of you. Fair?
Fair.
He was courteous and cooperative. You were the same.
Exactly.
This was not a, for lack of a better way to say it, a knockdown drag out between the two of you. Quite the opposite. Fair?
Yes.
Okay. Is your position as a filed sovereign that you're not required to follow the traffic laws as a licensed Michigan driver? Or is that too in-depth?
As a filed sovereign, I choose to follow the statutes of the state of Michigan due to the fact that if I didn't, I would probably be pulled over constantly and you'd probably see me a whole lot more, but that's neither here nor there. But
Okay.
for the safety of people around me and other people on the road, yes, I do choose to follow those. But
Okay.
if it impedes my right to travel in any circumstance, I can either follow the given guideline or not.
Okay. And you're not aware of any specific guidelines or rules or state laws that if you're doing automotive work on a vehicle, it allows you to test drive it at a higher speed than what the law requires?
I know that if there is a written RO and there's specific guidelines within the RO, usually if there is an issue, we try to get the vehicle to US 131 so that we can do the higher rate of speed. But given the fact that the customer did not.
But you're talking about your employer, fair enough?
Yes.
And what's the name of that employment?
Ed Cohen.
Okay. And when you say RO, what does that stand for?
A repair order.
Okay, repair order. I wasn't clear, but I thought that's what you meant. So you're kind of saying like what Ed Cohen's rules are as an employee of Ed Cohen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, anything else that you can think of that you want to say, Mr. Burkholder?
No, man, I've said my piece.
All right, I appreciate it. I didn't realize that I didn't know anything about the case. I really don't know Ms. Panter, and I don't know you, Mr. Burkholder. I don't know Deputy White. I've been completely neutral in this case, and I'm trying to understand where we were coming from. My intent to have everybody talk to each other at the onset is what often happens in cases to see if it can be resolved. I had no knowledge whatsoever that your position of this filed sovereign, in essence, from your perspective, applies a different set of rules or contractual obligations, and that you talk about this common law copyright like somehow putting the deputy on notice. And my position is really, he's just doing his job. You're just doing what you think is what you're supposed to do. And to be forthright, I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do. The prosecutor has the burden to show that you were exceeding the speed limit. I think the evidence that's been presented is very clear, abundantly clear, and certainly by a preponderance of the evidence, 51% or higher, that you were driving that vehicle and that you exceeded the speed limit. In fact, even what the deputy indicated about trying to get a vehicle up at a higher speed to check out its mechanics seemed to give rise to the fact that it was clear whether his radar was exactly on point or close at 73 miles an hour when he clocked you, that your vehicle that you were driving was clearly going over the stated posted speed of 55 miles per hour. I don't want to get into the details of your status as a sovereign citizen or a filed sovereign, as you describe it, or all about this finance statement and stuff with the common law agreement, because I really don't have all the details and don't know all about that. But I would just caution you when you're talking about you'll do what you need to do about filing liens on people's property, that you get the proper legal advice so that you don't get yourself in a predicament of doing something that would cause more difficulty for yourself. I'm only saying that as it relates to what you described. I find you responsible for the ticket. It's $115, 115. You can have time to pay it if you need a bit. I don't know what your position is at Ed Cohen, if it's full-time, or if within a month's time you could pay that ticket at $115. I'll also indicate, as it relates to this, the Secretary of State gives you a certain number of points for a ticket like this. I believe it's a 2-point violation, 1 to 10 miles over the speed limit. That's the way the ticket was written, and that's what I found you responsible for. But the Secretary of State, and I don't know how you feel about the rules they have, Mr. Burkholder, but they have a program where you can take online a class where the points go off your record. So if you're interested in looking into that, you can check into it with the Secretary of State. Now, do you have any questions for me?
The only question I have is 90% of what I do in federal notes. Is there a place like downtown Grand Rapids that I could actually pay with cash as opposed to trying to do this online?
We're not downtown Grand Rapids, we're Knapp in the Beltline. And while we discourage cash, I'm not gonna say you can't put cash in an envelope and stick it in our drop box. We have a drop box out front of our court. We also are publicly open 8 to 5, and you could physically bring the cash in and pay it. So you can make that decision on your own. We're located at Knapp and the Beltline
Yes,
at
ma'am.
1950, like the year, 1950 East Beltline. Did you get that?
Yes, ma'am. I just wrote it down.
We don't discourage, you would be able to pay cash if you physically came in the building. The only reason we discourage dropping it off is because we can't give you a receipt. And then if you say, yes,
Correct.
it was in there, and we're saying it only had $100 and it didn't have 115, then there's an issue.
Correct.
Otherwise,
Right.
you could come physically inside the building to take care of it. Okay?
Well, back in August, I tried to sign for the ticket and everything, and I wasn't
Didn't work?
even allowed in the building. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've been closed because of COVID. In fact, Monday of this week, just 3 days ago, is the first time we've unlocked our front doors.
Very well.
Okay, Mr. Burkholder, thank you for your courtesy. Ms. Panter, thank you for your courtesy. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.